Hi, everybody. Andy Goldberg here. Welcome to the Founders Chair podcast. Today's edition, we are very pleased to welcome Ari Pornaros from Big Pond Digital. Ari, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Why don't we just start off a little bit by getting to know you personally? Tell us a little bit about your personal story.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Ari. I'm 39 years old. I currently live in Scotland in Ayr, and I run a company called Big Pond Digital. I've been here since 2006, so I moved here from Greece. I'm originally from an English mum, Greek dad. So spent quite a bit of time over in Greece till I was 20. Then moved here when I was 20 in 2006. It was initially only for a couple of years just to go to uni and then go back. But almost 20 years later, here I am. So yeah, as I said, I live in Ayr with my partner and I run a company called Big Pond Digital that specializes in SEO, which stands for search engine optimization, and also PPC, which is the Google Ads side.
Okay. So we're going to find out all about your business in a minute. Tell me about I guess you've lived here so long now that you're pretty much settled in. Kind of like me, we've moved here from
Yeah,
someplace else, but we're
exactly.
part of the background now.
Exactly. That's it. No, it's I remember initially when I first moved as a bit of a shock to the system, going from especially from a city to like air, which, when I first moved, it was everything seemed so quiet. Um Being from a city, but no, now I'm completely used to it. And every time I go away, it doesn't feel like home. I feel like when I come back, I'm, settled. So yeah, I've been here for too long, basically.
But you're here to stay.
Here to stay. That's it.
So tell us of the story of how your business came about, first of all. So we want to know the journey to
Mhm.
get to where you are before we find out about what you're up to today. I'm also
Okay.
interested, Ari, sorry, in knowing at what point did you have the confidence that you
Mm.
could run your own business?
Okay. So I went to uni and during the last year I decided to get an internship for a local company. And that company I think had maybe about 10 members of staff at the time. And I joined as an intern, spent an entire year, and that company within a year or a year and a half just exploded. They signed a brand called All Saints at the time, which is like a clothing retailer, a pretty big brand. And at the time, that brand was the hottest fashion brand around. So basically, every other fashion brand wanted to actually sign up with us. So that company went massive, and that's where I got a lot of my experience. So it was 4 years that I actually spent there. And then I went to work in-house for another company, a gaming company, which is quite competitive compared to what I was used to. And they also promoted the fact that you could actually start your own affiliate business. So your side business on the side making a bit of money. And that company had quite a lot of affiliates, and these guys were making crazy amounts. I mean, some of the paychecks they used to send on a monthly basis were something like, between 50 to 100,000 a month. Just because they'd be doing it for so long and they'd rank their websites and they were in a great position. So that sort of inspired me a wee bit to actually think, well, maybe I could do it myself, and they would also encourage it. So that was a bit of a turning point because I was never interested in business up until that point. My background was in music. I was in bands, I wanted to make it as a musician. But that actually changed everything. And during my time there at that company, I actually got the confidence to build my own websites, rank them, make mistakes, crash a few websites, and actually learn how to actually properly do the job. And so after doing that, I started my own affiliate business, which was basically just myself working from home. And this was in 2011, 2012. And it was quite interesting actually because when COVID hit and everybody was trying to get used to the video calls, I already had about 10, 12 years experience actually doing that just because the industry that I was in was very much remote. So everybody would work with Skype, you know, everybody would be in different parts of the world. So it was
Yeah.
quite a good fit for me. So I launched that business, started doing a SEO for my own affiliate sites, not knowing really how to run a business. I was terrible with actually spending all the money that I would make. I wouldn't reinvest. I would basically make all the mistakes in the book. And then one day Google launched an algorithm update that completely wiped businesses off the map. You know, a lot of businesses completely lost everything. My business was one of them. So it went from being the top ranked business in Google on affiliate sites to zero pretty much overnight. Luckily, I'd had a really good year of revenue and I didn't really have a lot of expenses at that point. So I'd banked some money that would carry over for the next 2 years for me to actually rebuild and relearn how to actually do my job and test the algorithms and test things and see what works and what doesn't, because that was like a huge take up. And I think those 2 years I actually learned so much that it gave me the confidence to actually launch my own business, hire staff, and scale things. And a couple of years later, I started Big Pond, and that was like a bit of a natural process to actually get there.
So one thing that two things kind of caught my ear. The first is, as a young entrepreneur, and you were quite successful, right? You were generating quite a lot of sales. You had
Mm,
money in the bank, but
yeah.
you had some sort of foresight to keep that money in the bank
Mm,
for a rainy day rather than go buy a
yes.
fancy car. And
Yeah.
like, how did that come about? Because most people aren't naturally smart about money. They have to learn about it.
Well, I wasn't that smart. I basically I was very successful for about a year and a half. So the job that I was in prior to that, there was a lot of politics involved, and although I'd done a good job, it was a family business, and they let me go, and pretty much a lot of other outsiders. And so I was made redundant, and I was on the dole for I think it was 3 to 4 months,
Hmm.
trying to decide whether I should pursue as a musician and make it as a musician in a band, or take this affiliate thing to the next level. And at the time, the band was sort of not working out. We'd already played the same venues about, 30 times, not getting any deals. It's obviously very, very difficult, as you understand. So I decided to focus more on the affiliate marketing side. And, it was strange because I went from literally being on the dole. I remember launching a website, and by the fourth month, I think 4 months in, I made $200. The month after, I made 2000. And then within a couple of months after that, we were averaging 25 to 30,000 a month in terms of income. And that was mainly profit, right? Because it was just myself working from home in my pajamas in front of a computer. So it was, I thought I'd made it. So I basically took a lot of that money and said, well, if I can do that with one website, I could do it times 10. So I ended up investing in a lot of websites. And the thing is with that is, and this is advice that I give to other people too, sometimes you should try and focus on one or two things instead of doing 10 things at once and doing them badly. Because that's what ended up happening. I ended up doing 10 websites, not doing them properly, not getting the results that I wanted, spending money, investing in all these sites, and then the Google algorithm came out and basically annihilated everything. So yeah, that was a mistake. That was probably one of the first big mistakes that I made. But I was lucky to have some reserves to carry me over to the next stage of the business.
Yeah. Okay. Very smart. And it's interesting that you were saying about focusing on one or two things and doing them well. Because before we came on, I was just on a coaching call with my coach,
Mm,
business coach. And that was
right.
the very lesson that I had to be reminded of. You know,
Yeah.
it's not new, but it's something, we need to be reminded of these things again and again. So it's always relevant. Like you can't do 10 things well.
Absolutely. And I've made that mistake a couple times after that too. So yeah, it's I guess if you don't make the mistakes, you don't really learn, do you?
So, well, let's skip to that question then, and we'll come back and then we'll talk about what Big Pond's up to at the moment. But why
Hmm.
don't we just skip right to the question of what has been your biggest learning as a business owner to date?
Biggest learning. Okay. Um,
There's so many,
Not
it's hard to
so
pick.
many. I know that's the thing. How much time have we got?
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest learnings was not to put all my eggs in one basket. So, and I'll tell you how this applied to my business. So when I first started running an agency, I had a handful of clients. One of them accounted for over 40 or 50% of the revenue. And the thing is that that's an issue because it's almost like a ticking time bomb. Because when you lose them, all the infrastructure you've built up to actually get that business going is under threat, right? You could actually lose everything. So that was probably one of the biggest mistakes that I made. I didn't diversify that income. And I'd say maybe the second thing would be trying to do everything on my own instead of, you know, outsourcing and allocating tasks, delegating, getting people involved in the tasks that I didn't really want to do or wasn't good at actually doing. And so those two things,
Yeah.
keeping an eye on your income and making sure that it's diversified. Because if you have a client that accounts for like 50% of the revenue, once they're gone, it just isn't sustainable.
Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. Thanks. Good learnings. Tell us about your company now. Tell us about Big Pond Digital. Who are your, what are your key services and who are your who's your target audience?
Sure. So Big Pond Digital, as I said, is a search engine optimization company based in Air. About 80% of the work that we do is purely SEO, but we also do a bit of PPC, which is the Google Ads side. And recently we started doing a bit of paid social. But we are known for doing SEO locally and also like in global markets. So we help basically local businesses to global operators. And we've got a good portfolio of clients, and that's anything from like local businesses like accountants, lawyers, dentists, to global e-commerce businesses, gaming companies, finance companies. So I think for a company of our size, because we're quite a small company, we're 11 people combined, we actually punch above our weight in terms of like the client list that we have. And that's mainly through my network and connections and experience and being in the game for, well, since 2008. But that's what we're doing. And again, when I first started the company, I had the option of maybe doing a bit of everything. So a bit
Mm.
of web design, SEO, PPC, but we decided to just focus on what we're actually good at delivering. And it's actually, so far, it's worked out quite well.
Um, what would you say has been your biggest? Well, okay, so who has been your biggest influence? So who tell us about someone who may have inspired you or challenged you and made you realize you can do it and had a real impact on your success.
So that's a number of people. Going from the first job that I had was quite challenging, but we had a number of marketing managers that actually came in that guided us and showed us how to do everything and sort of gave us the confidence to actually do our job. And then in my second job, that was a real eye opener because I'd never seen an industry like that, like the gaming industry and how big it was. And so I was quite inspired by like a group of young people that would just had the confidence to actually go out on their own, start their own websites, and they're absolutely killing it in terms of, ranking the sites and making money. They were doing great. And then after that would be basically my own team and the network that I've created around me. So, um, network of friends operating different businesses. We all have a group chat going. So if anybody has any issues or wants to talk, it's kind of like an open conversation, which is good because it can be lonely if you just close yourself off and run things yourself. It's important to have the right people around you. And I know it's cliche and it's been mentioned a lot, but it's very true.
You said it earlier. You can't, don't do everything on your own.
Exactly. Exactly.
Um, and there's always somebody out there who can do something better than you can, right?
Absolutely.
And probably enjoys it more.
That's it. Absolutely.
Yeah. What's been your biggest challenge during the years? And who has helped you through the challenge?
Biggest challenge to the years, I'd say that one of the biggest challenges was between 2019 and 2020 because multiple things happened. So the first thing that happened was we'd lost one of the clients that, were accounted for 50% of the revenue or more. So that was the first mistake that we made. And then about 2 months later, COVID hit. So that was obviously a nightmare, not just for me, but for like many businesses. Um, and it was the type of thing that, if we get through this, we can get through anything. And we managed to get through it. It was difficult. We had to like pause a lot of accounts. Um, I remember the first couple of weeks, I thought, everything's over, that's it, but like I think pretty much every business owner thought the same. So that was a huge challenge, but we actually got through it okay, and we actually grew a lot since then. So in between 2020 and 2021, we did really well. We took on debt in 2020 to actually keep the company going, but did really well in 2021, and since then we've been growing quite a lot.
Great. And what's the next big thing for you in your business? Next 1 to 3 years, what's your number one focus? And are you looking to continue growth?
Absolutely, we although we're a marketing company, I don't know this is going to sound a bit strange. We never really focused a lot on our own marketing, and because we naturally got a lot of the leads that we get through referrals and through SEO in our own website. I guess that was some marketing that we did. But my plan is to really step up our own marketing. So we're moving into a new office next week, and we're setting up our own podcast and video production studio. So we're going to be doing a lot of content to actually get our name out there, inviting guests over, a bit like what you're doing with me, but more so in the digital marketing industry to talk about specific things. And yeah, the whole idea is just to get as much video content out there, help as many people as possible, and scale the company. Also, one of the things that we've been doing over the past year, actually year and a half, is creating a blueprint and processes for our business. Because obviously, when I first started the business, everything was in my head. Even simple things like if somebody asked for the password, they would ask for it, several times over the course of a week. It's creating little processes and guides to be able to run the business without me. So if I had to like go away for a month, everything would run smoothly. So that's what we've been working on. And between that and the acquisition slash marketing strategy, we're aiming to scale the company.
Fantastic. That's what we like to hear. Um, what advice would you give to any would-be business owners who are thinking about going out on their own or who are currently trying to do it on their own?
Okay. I'd say number one, and I said it before, try and get people in different positions. So don't do everything on your own. There's going to be, as you said, somebody out there that's going to do a better job than you when it comes to certain things. Like for example, get an accountant, get a bookkeeper, um, get people that enjoy doing certain tasks that you actually hate doing, and focus on what you're good at. There's a really good exercise actually. And it's basically you take a spreadsheet and you create a matrix of the tasks that you have to do to actually run your business. And then on this side, you have a column and you can put in $1 sign. The second column has $2 signs, third column has three, four, and then you go through that list And essentially, the whole idea is that you want to eliminate tasks that you are doing that take up the most time and also you hate doing.
Yeah.
And once you complete that exercise, you have a list of things that you can say, right, this is actually probably costing me money. I hate doing it, so I can actually outsource it, give it to somebody else that will probably do a much better job than me and will work out cheaper. So there's that, and it's good to get a mentor to avoid making mistakes. I mean, you're always going to make mistakes, but I think mentors, because they've been there and done it, they can accelerate things for you. So things that you would achieve maybe in 4 years, they might fast track you. You might be able to actually do the same in a shorter period of time.
You reduce the chance of you making the same mistake they made because they're pointing it out to you ahead of time.
Absolutely.
You can see it coming over the hill before you
Exactly.
let it get too close. Yeah.
Exactly. And you just go faster and you have somebody more experienced over you that's done it and basically pointing out the steps to you. So that's a really good one. And I'd say that the final thing would be try and utilize AI and technology because it's a completely different landscape at the moment. There's things that you can actually do with AI that maybe 2 years ago you'd have to hire people to do or would be really, really time consuming. So there's a lot of things that you can actually do on your own that 2 or 3 years ago would require a team of people. So that's really important. So if you do all those things, I think you'll be on a good path.
Brilliant. Thanks, Ari. Just before we wrap up, do you want to put your website details or contact details out there so anybody who's interested in looking at their SEO and their PPC and need to get in touch with you quick?
Sure, the best way is to head to bigponddigital.co.uk. Have a look at what we do. We've got some case studies. We list our services, and if you want, you can fill out the contact form and somebody will get in touch. We can have an initial discussion, even do an audit for you, and take it from there.
I'll pop the link into the YouTube comments as well so people can find it. So just look below and you can click on that and get in touch with Ari and his team.
Great. Thank you very much.
Ari, thanks so much for being on the big the Founders Chair podcast today. Ari Pernaros, Big Pond Digital.
Thanks for having me.
And thanks everybody for watching and keep an eye out because we got more podcasts dropping soon. So we'll see you all next time. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.
Cheers.